Let me start with, honestly, one of my favorite things to bake, scones. I'll start by sifting my dry ingredients, starting with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I do find scones are best made in small batches. But when I did have to batch up at the bakery, I would always have my staff or apprentices start by making a small batch by hand to really get to know the dough and the consistency of it. Surprisingly, scones don't have a lot of sweetness. It just depends how much jam you put on them. So all I add is a 1/4 cup of sugar. I need 4 teaspoons of baking powder. And 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Just sift that into a big bowl. Anytime I add citrus to a recipe, I like to add it as early on as I can. The more contact that citrus zest has with the ingredients, the more it will draw out its flavor. So I'm adding about 2 teaspoons of orange zest. Now I've got 3/4 of a cup of cold, unsalted butter. You want the butter to be cold so little pieces stay intact within the dough. That way, once it's baked, you get a scone that is flaky, but a little bit cakey at the same time. Once those big pieces are a little bit smaller, then I actually switch to using my fingers. And I just do a little twisting motion. And I can still see pieces of butter, but now I switch my motion again, and I start flattening those pieces of dough. Because as the scones bake, these thin sheets of butter melt, and they actually produce steam, and that steam pushes up the flour around them. And that's how you get those flaky layers. Now I'm gonna make a little well in the center and get my wet ingredients. I need milk and eggs. I'll measure out 3/4 of a cup of milk. I'll add 1 egg, and I need 1 yolk for the recipe, but I actually want to save the white because I'll use that to brush the tops of the scones to add some shine. Quick little stir. I stir this together just until I see there's no more liquid running off of the flour, but yet the dough is not completely combined. Because then I switch and I bring the dough together on my table. And get ready to get a little bit sticky here. So I've kind of got a 50-50 blend of dry mixture plus the wet added to it. This is the point where I like to start adding the currants. I'm adding 1/2 cup of these currants. So I sprinkle a few over top as I start flattening and folding my dough. Last sprinkling of currants here. When the dough finally comes together, it will still be kind of craggy and rough on the edges. That's okay. You want to stop at this point when you see you don't have loose flour on the outside of the dough anymore. Now, I just flatten the dough out by hand. My baking trays, and I'm using a 2.5-inch cutter. That reserved egg white I have, I'll give a little whisk to just to loosen it up a bit. I brush the top of the scones with the egg white, and this gives them a beautiful shine, and it promotes a nice even browning. The finishing touch, a little sprinkling of cinnamon sugar right on top. These are ready for the oven. I've preheated it to 375, and these take about 18 minutes. Oh, these look beautiful. Now I'm all set for a cup of tea. I love black tea with scones because it's just so simple. It doesn't take away from that buttery goodness. Look at this scone, and that scattering of currants in there. And when you open it up, oh, it's just so flaky. I can actually smell the orange in there, just screaming out for some clotted cream and jam. Oh. What an absolute treat. Mmm.